Hello children, I'm Anjanelu, your faculty of English from TPIS, Talla Padmavathi International School, Warangal. Well, today I would like to start this session with some beautiful pics which I have collected to show you up. I hope you will enjoy seeing these beautiful pics. So let's have a look at them. Here, what do you see in this picture? Yes, some boy happily is playing. Photograph is really wonderful. Now see this second picture. This is also even more beautiful. Some children, what are they doing here? They are freeing some piglets. From the picture, what can I guess or what can I imagine? These three children, they have brought some piglets which they found somewhere else, maybe in their vicinity or in their homes. And from this picture, what I feel, those children, they really wanted to free all those piglets. They wanted to give freedom to that piglets, and now you can see in the picture they have brought in some sack and they are releasing them. And this third picture, a perfect photography, I would say, a perfect picture. An innocent child with all her love and affection feeding that small kitten. How beautiful, in fact. Yes, now it's time to ask you something. After seeing all these three pictures, what do you get in your mind? Which stage of life flashes in your mind? Yes, it's childhood. Childhood is really beautiful, of course, in everybody's life. That's why we call childhood is the golden period of one's life. And now I would like to ask you, can you tell me some characteristics of childhood? The qualities of any child. Can you tell me? Yes, yes. Children appear very playful. They are playful. Yes. They are innocent, caring. They're very observant. Children, they observe the things around them very carefully, very keenly, and imaginative. I need not tell you. Children, they live in their own world of fantasy, imagination. All the wonderful things they do. Uh, in fact, when we are born and when we grow up in our childhood stage, we are all very clean and neat heart. We don't develop any sort of narrow feelings in our mind. A child's heart is broad enough to think about all sorts of things in surroundings. But unfortunately, man, as he grows older in his age, he becomes more selfish and narrow-minded. And eventually, he is deprived of all the divine qualities of love, compassion, sympathy, all these things he will forget. So by now I think you have understood what might be the theme of the lesson today we are going to appreciate. Yes, it's all about childhood. How beautiful childhood, and how beautiful even children's hearts. What kind of care they take, and what compassion, imagination they exhibit in all their words, thoughts, and deeds. So today we are going to uh, appreciate a beautiful story, Gift of Chappals. The Gift of Chappals is the story from Tamil Nadu, Chennai. Earlier it was called Madras, and today we call it Chennai. So let's go to Chennai. Mrudu is a small girl who was living with her Tapi, grandma, and Tata, grandpa, in Chennai. She was growing up in her grandparents' house in Chennai. So one day, her Tapi, means grandma, took her to her aunt's house, Rukmini aunt's house. Thus, Mrudu went to Rukmini's house along with her Tapi or grandma. When they reached the home, Rukmini, she came forward so happily, and she opened the doors to welcome. So when Rukmini opened the door to welcome Tapi and Mrudu, her children Ravi and Meena rushed out, and the next moment Ravi started dragging Mrudu into the house, but the girl protested. She stopped him and said, "Wait, I have to remove my chappals or slippers." Then she neatly set her pair of slippers beside another pair. A bigger pair was there, black ones. Those were black slippers, but actually they were looking grey because of the dust. And even on those slippers, she could see the impressions of the marks of toes, especially the first two toes. Uh, they appeared so scrawny. Scrawny means very thin, lean, and thin. And she didn't get much time to wonder or to think about whose slippers they were, because Ravi was just dragging her, and he dragged her to the backyard. And in the backyard, behind a bitter berry bush, Mrudu saw in a torn football. That football was torn, and in that some sack was there. It was lined with sack lining. Some sack was there, and then in that some sand was filled, and upon that soft sand there lay a small kitten lapping up milk. You know how kitten or how cats drink milk with their tongue. So lapping up the milk, that milk where the milk was served, that milk was served in a half coconut shell. You know, when we remove the coconut, edible part of the coconut, what remains? Some empty shell remains. In a half coconut shell, some milk was served to that kitten and it was lapping up. Then Meena said, "We found it this morning outside the gate. Poor thing. It was crying, mewing again and again. We felt so pity. So we brought it here. And you know, it's a secret. Why? Amma said, if um, Party know this, if Party know about this cat, she would go off to Paddu uncle's house. That's why it's a secret." And then Ravi said, "We don't understand these elder people. They only tell us to be kind with other creatures. But when we are kind to some creature, they scream, they shout, 'Oh, don't bring the dirty creature,' says these people. I don't know, I don't understand what they really uh, think about the other creatures. Then why should they tell us to be kind with the other animals?" Here you can understand. You can understand that children, they take for granted the words of the elders. They believe it true. When a mother says, "I'll bring that moon to you if you eat the food," the baby or the child really believes in her and eats the food. Because they're so innocent, they just believe. They don't know about lies. They don't know about lies. There will be lies in this world. As they grow up, they'll come to know the lies and they have to start even lying. So Meena said they brought that kitten from outside the gate. It was all alone and they took pity on it and they brought it inside and they hid that small kitten in the backyard behind some bitter berry bush. Why they hid it? Because if if their grandma knew about this cat, she would leave the house. That's what the fear of the children. And Ravi said, "These people only ask us to be kind, but when we show some kindness to the animals or something, they say, 'Don't bring the dirty creatures inside,' like that they say." And how difficult it was to bring a little milk for this kitten, you know. When I was bringing in a glass tumbler, grandma saw it and I told her I was very hungry and I want to drink the milk. She was so suspicious. She was looking at me so suspicious that I had to drink almost all the milk. And she wanted back the glass or tumbler. Then I said, "No, Granny, why should I trouble you? I myself will wash this." And this, Ravi had to run to this kitten and he had to pour that a little amount of milk in that coconut shell and he had to run back to wash it and put it there in the kitchen where it is supposed to be. So much risk uh, children have taken. Here there is one expression, of the scent. To throw her off the scent, yes. To throw her off the scent means to mislead his granny. He behaved like that. Now we had to think the other way of feeding this little Mahendran, said Ravi. Mahendran? You named it Mahendran? It was really very impressive. A real name, not some kitty cat or something like that. I really like this name, Mahendran. Mrudu was so much impressed that that little cat was given a name, a real name like Mahendran. Usually we find these Mahendran or Mahesh, whoever, these are for human names. So she was impressed with the idea of keeping a human name to a small kitten. And then Ravi said, actually its full name is Mahendra Pallava Pune, or if you want in short you can say MP Pune. You know, it's a fine, this cat is a fine breed. It's a best quality cat. You see, from this fur we can understand. See its fur, it's like it's looking like the mane of a lion. The male lion has all the fur over its neck now, that is called the mane. See its fur, it's looking like mane of lion. And you know what was the uh, emblem of the ancient Pallavas? Don't you? Asked Ravi expectantly. Means he was expecting an answer from Mrudu. And Mrudu giggled when Ravi asked, what is the emblem of ancient Pallavas? He asked. And she giggled, means she answered in a way that she expressed her ignorance, means she didn't know the answer. And when Mrudu giggled at Ravi, he said, do you think I'm joking? Well, I'll tell you something. It appears that you're very poor in history, and I think you have never been to Mahabalipuram, no? Yes. I visited once Mahabalipuram with my classmates, and there I saw this Mahendran's tatas, etc. What I mean to say here, I saw this Mahendran's tatas, it goes endless like that. What I mean to say here, Mahendran is a descendant. It also has come from the same family of scientifically, if I have to say, it is none other than the lion. In science, cats family, lion. So this is nothing but the descendant of the same lion's family. And you know, the lion is the emblem of Pallava dynasty, ancient Pallava dynasty. When he was telling all this, his eyes were sparkling. There was a shining in his eyes. So with all his enthusiasm, with all his interest, he was walking to and fro near that bitter berry bush, and so proudly he's telling about his cat. So I hope you understood what he wanted to tell Mridu. This is not an ordinary cat. This cat is actually belongs to the lion's family down the generations. When I went to Mahabalipuram, there I saw its great grandfather, Mahendran's great grandfather, great grandfather is there. The statue is there. And this is also such a great family cat, he said. See, children, do you think is it all real? No. The boy was simply exaggerating. The boy was simply exaggerating or extolling the quality of this cat. All that he wants to tell, it's a fine breed. It's a cat of fine breed. Uh, does he really know all this? No, it's all spontaneously. Then and there, he cooked up some imaginative story and he linked whatever the known history he learned from social class. He linked that social knowledge, history knowledge, to this small kitten which they just found outside the gate of their house or in the street. So from this little episode we can understand how affectionate children towards the small animals, how compassionate, how kind they are towards other living beings, and how seriously they take the words of the elders, and how spontaneous, how imaginative children are. Even says that ancient Egyptians they worshipped cats. Then Mrudu asked, okay, you told so much about history, but what it has to do with this cat? Then Ravi said, oh, all that I want to tell you that this Mahendran is the descendant of those cats god. When ancient Egyptians, when they worshipped cats as their gods, goddess, then one of its descendant stowed away in a ship of Pallavas, and its descendant was Rishi cat in Mahabalipuram that I saw, and its descendant is, after that what he did, whatever that small dry twig he was holding in his hand, he threw at the small kitten. So what does he mean to say here? Ancient Egyptians they worshipped cats, and down the generations they went on worshipping cats, cat goddess. Then one of those cat was stowaway, means secretly traveled in a ship of Pallavas, and its descendant, the whichever traveled in the ship of Pallavas is another one. Its descendant is the Rishi, means Rishi cat, means here he lion in Mahabalipuram he saw the statue, and its descendant, the immediate next generation is this cat, who Mahendran, whatever the cat. Such a big story he cooked up here. And he said, so proudly smiling, ha ha ha, this is the descendant of Rishi cat in Mahabalipuram, he said. Mrudu and Meena, they exchanged their looks. They looked at each other's face. And meanwhile, the small little kitten was sharpening its claws against that coconut shell. It was a little way when he said, ha ha ha, it was a little horrified, and even worse than that, that cat, or in fact all the three, heard some harsh sound, unbearable sound. What was it? Some screeching sound from the window. And Mrudu was startled, surprised, and Mahendran was totally frightened. His hair stood up in fear, and he jumped out of that football, and he saw some bamboo tray in which some red chilies were kept to dry them up. Then it went and he wanted to hide itself behind that basket of red chilies, and it meowed. But that screeching sound continued like that. What is that noise? Mrudu asked. Then Ravi said in his grunting voice, means complainingly, oh, Lalli's musical practice. She is playing violin over there. Set. So what is that screeching sound? I think now you understood. It is the unbearable, harsh, unskillful sound created by a violinist. Who is the violinist here? Lalli. She is learning violin. As part of her practice, she is shaking the total world outside.